All right, back for another beer review, and today I'll be reviewing yet another beer from Lawson's Finest Liquids, and they're out of Waitsfield, Vermont, and this is their Hopcelot IPA. So this is an American IPA that comes in at 7% alcohol by volume, 77 IBUs at the time of review. This can is just over 3 weeks old. So it's been about 6 months since I've reviewed a beer from Lawson's. It was their Triple Sunshine, pretty damn good. So I saw this one show up locally, and I saw a few Untappd friends check this one in recently, and I was like, oh, it's a fresh Lawson's beer, and I want to grab it. So what do they say about this one? On the side, it says, inspired by a dreamy combination of music, hops, and beer. Celebrate with us as we revel in the glory of 8 varieties of hops from around the world, brewed to create an intricate layers. Well, sorry, it's hard to read a little bit for me. Okay, it's a comma. I thought that was a period, but it says brewed to create intricate layers of flavor and to delight your senses. So they don't say what the 8 varieties of hops are, but there's 8 varieties of hops in here. So yeah, pretty damn fresh, and I want to get in this one now. This does seem to be clear beer and like kind of a West Coast style IPA if we're going with a specific style of IPA, and I'm here for it. So let's give it a pour and see what we got going on. So yeah, clear beer for the win, baby. So I believe this is a new beer, relatively new beer. I think last year was the first time they released this one, and they brought it back again this summer. Last summer, I was laid up after open heart surgery, so I wasn't drinking any Hopcelot, let's just say that. Anyway, so yeah, it's clear, but it has very fine particulate floating around, like very, very fine, but pretty clear, has this like clear golden yellow color, just over a finger of a bright white, super creamy looking head. Looks beautiful. That's a beautiful fucking beer. Really, it is. Let's get a nose. Yeah. So you know what this kind of reminds me of? I just reviewed D's, Dem, and Does from Hop Butcher, and that kind of had like an old school kind of American IPA feel with some new school influences. That's kind of what I'm getting here. So I get like that big kind of grapefruit rind, a little bit of juiciness from it, and then there's a big blast of like pine. But underneath that, I get like pineapple and passion fruit, maybe even a touch of like a red berry. Nice floral sensation too. Very fresh smelling. Again, just over 3 weeks old, probably one of the fresher Lawsons I've had recently. Get a little bit of alcohol efficiency at 7%, which is rare nowadays, but yeah, there's a nice herbaceousness kind of hitting me too. Like it just has that like really fresh green vibe to it, like bouquet of flowers, like a floral, herbaceous, almost grassy, piney thing going on. It's just all over the place, but in a great way. Yeah, it smells really good. Let's get into it. Cheers, everybody. Really nice. So clean, too. Like, wow. I could crush this at 7%. You shouldn't, but I could. Easily crushable. So body on this is like higher side of medium. Has a little heft here at 7%. The mouthfeel is old school through and through. You're talking about that crisp, spritzy, effervescent, just on the palate. It's not like overbearing. It's kind of moderately carbonated, so it's appropriate. But it's not like that soft, smooth, creamy kind of New England feel, right? It's an old school kind of feel to it, and it's beautiful. It tastes a lot of citrus at the front of the palate. It's juicy, it's zesty, it's rindy. It's the whole fruit itself. There's like white grapefruit, navel orange, pretty much the two, maybe a bit of tangerine, but at the forefront, that's what hits the tip of my tongue as it passes through a little bit of that sweeter pineapple, touch of a red berry, maybe like a peach or an apricot too. And then second half of the palate, that's where that fresh, floral, herbaceous, grassy, kind of piney, like a pine sap kind of feeling on the back of the palate. It just tastes so fresh. Finishes semi-dry with a moderate bitterness. Yeah, or we'll say lower side of moderate bitterness, but definitely has a nice bitterness. So very balanced. This is actually probably leaning a little bit more dry and bitter than most. 7%, I could smell the alcohol. Can't taste it. No feeling, no warming in the chest, nothing on the palate. just a really well done old school American IPA. Is it West Coast style? I think it's a nice West Coast IPA with, again, a little bit of a new school twist like that. That red berry I'm getting, a little bit of like the sweeter pineapple and peach kind of middle of the palate. You didn't get that too much in West Coast IPAs. West Coast IPAs for me used to be predominantly grapefruit and then pine. You would sometimes get the pineapple, and I feel like as they transitioned from like classic West Coast to like more of the new school West Coast IPAs, you started introducing more of like the fruity, slightly juicy flavor. So this is kind of like a hybrid, kind of like a West Coast IPA and just like some new school influences of like this is a Vermont IPA. That's what this is, a Vermont IPA. It really is though. It just has such a great balance too. Really, really nice. Yeah, my palate needed this today. It really did. So Hopcelot IPA from Lawson's. I am going to go, again, and to take this from somebody who, West Coast IPAs will never be my favorite style, but I've come to appreciate them more nowadays than I did 10 to 12 years ago, just because there's so many hazies out there. So you kind of need something, or I need something to kind of, bring it back to the old school a little bit. And I think a beer does it like this. So it's probably going to be lower than you might expect based on how I'm saying, but keep in mind that West Coast style IPAs will never be my favorite, never were. So that's that anyway. Just let's carry on with this review and make it a minute longer than it needs to be. But anyway, I'm giving this beer a high 4.25 out of 5. I'm going to go 4.35 out of 5. I think it's a fair score. I think it's a damn good beer and a beer that I could crush a couple cans. I think after 2 cans, I'd probably be done. I think the bitterness and the dryness would ramp up a little bit on me, but a couple cans of that, I'd be feeling good. And that's all I need nowadays. A couple cans of that and I'm good. And that's all I should be drinking. Anyway, price point availability, I think I paid $4 something for that can. I want to say four packs in my area were probably like in the $16 to $18 realm, something like that, which is fine for a beer of this quality. Availability, wherever you see Lawson's, I think they get into, I want to say they said like 10, 12, 15 different states, something like that. They're in a bunch of different states now, though. You can get your hands on them if you really want to. They are, dare I say, shelf turds. Now, when I say shelf turds, I kind of mean like those great beers that kind of sit on the shelf. And a lot of times you can't find them fresh. Like if you try to find like Sip of Sunshine or something, a lot of times you'll find it 3-4 months old because people aren't buying it. And when that beer first got distribution, people were, a local bottle shop here used to get Sip of Sunshine and they'd sell out of, 20, 30 cases in a couple hours. Like people just come buy cases of it. It was insane. And now it's just a shelf turd, as I like to say. But that doesn't mean it's bad beer. It actually means it's good beer. It just kind of sits on the shelf because there's so much beer out there. And that's kind of where Lawson's is. But man, they can still brew some really fucking good beer. So if you've had this one before, post in the comment section. I feel like some of you have picked this one up. If not, by the time I post this review, it will be probably less than a month old, so you can still find this on the shelves. Grab it, especially if you want an old school American IPA, West Coast style IPA, whatever you want to call it. It's delicious. It's a delicious IPA. Anyway, appreciate everybody stopping by for another beer review here on the Beer Patrol. To the next one. Cheers.